Uh, okay, so the latest update on the Ukrainian situation from my perspective. Um, it remains something of a stalemate. So far, there's still been no outbreaks of violence that could be considered conflict level, but it remains very, very tense. Um, Russia's already feeling the consequences of the world backlash against its actions in Crimea. Apparently, the Russian ruble has tumbled today. So Putin's going to be under enormous pressure. But there's one particular area that the Russians are using to justify this invasion. And let's be clear, it was an invasion of a sovereign state. Crimea may have autonomy, but this is an invasion of the sovereign state of Ukraine, of which Crimea is still part. De facto, that is. But basically, the Russian excuse, Sergei Lavrov came out with this earlier, and Putin keeps coming out with this line, is Russian actions are necessary in order to protect the Russian population. Now, this sort of language suggests that there's some sort of attack on Russians in Crimea, that Russians are being indiscriminately killed, this sort of thing. I have seen a lot of Ukrainians interviewed on this subject, and not once have I seen any sort of violent, threatening language against the Russian population in Crimea. Not once have I seen any sort of signs whatsoever that the civilian population there are being seriously threatened. And surely, if there was discrimination against the Russian population in the Crimea, we would have seen it before now. Surely we would have seen attacks on Russians in the past, on a much bigger scale, if there is a legitimate threat. So a lot of people seem to think, and I go along with this, that this is simply an excuse by Putin and Moscow to justify their invasion, and it has similar overtones to other parts of history. Someone's just quoted that Hitler used this excuse when he invaded the Sudetenland. Now, I'm not saying Putin's Hitler, but there is echoes of history here, and it is troubling, because the only thing that would happen now is for Russia to pull back. And knowing Vladimir Putin, knowing his character, that doesn't seem to be something that he's going to do, because that would mean humiliation for Putin, humiliation for Russia, and it would damage Putin's credibility in Russia, which is already stoked up by neo-nationalism. Therefore, if Putin does pull back, he would risk his own popularity domestically in Russia. So Putin's put himself in this situation where there's no going back, and that's what makes this situation so critical. So that's my thoughts on the latest developments. I'll try and make further updates as things develop.